Be careful not to give away too much just to win a client. What am I talking about? I think a lot of people are giving away too many freebies. It's very, very tempting to give away lots of free stuff in order to win a client. But sometimes you're undervaluing yourself and sometimes you're undervaluing your consulting. So let's talk about when it's okay to give away free stuff and when it's not. And we're going to go through 6 aspects. So number 1, lead magnets. If you're into digital marketing and particularly content marketing, lead magnets are a great way to build your database, to build your contact list. I was going to say client list. Hopefully they'll turn into clients, but build your contact list so that you can then reach out to them with information, with promotional offers. What's that great Gary Vaynerchuk quote? Just be careful. It's called jab, 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 right hook. So what does that mean? It means don't be trying to promote something every time you reach out to somebody on your list. I'm just throwing this in as a freebie. So for example, if you're utilizing email campaigns, you might have an information email, you might have some research going out, you might be talking about a case study. The 4th one is going to be an offer. Don't hit out there with offers all the time. Jab, 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 right hook. 3 non-promotional ones for every promotional email, whatever that you send out. So lead magnets, just be careful that you're putting in enough content to demonstrate your capability, your track record, providing a few tips. You want people to be consuming that and saying, these people really know their stuff. Maybe we should reach out. You don't want to be giving the whole solution. Although there is an argument which says it's okay to give the whole solution because if they're going to do it themselves, they wouldn't be hiring a consultant anyway. You just got to balance that. Don't give away the farm. Give away some good tips, but keep a little bit back. Number 2, when is it okay to give away some freebies? Pre-sales work. So in my own consulting business at Logistics Bureau, we do supply chain and logistics consulting. Very often we'll do a little bit of pre-work during the sales process because we're selling quite large projects and you can't expect you can't sell people off an email, off a video, or even one sales call necessarily. They want to see some demonstration of capability, they want to see a little bit of commitment. So quite often we'll say, send us a sample of data and we'll have a look. In fact, I was doing one last week when someone was asking me, we're not sure if our sea freight contracts should be reviewed and we think we're being overcharged. So rather than just jump in and say, hey, look, for X thousand dollars, we can review your sea freight contracts, I said, send me a few invoices from the last few months and we'll have a look. And that gives me a chance to see how complicated their business is, to see if they're actually getting good sea freight rates or not, whether there's an opportunity to save something, and it's demonstrating to them that we're not just out to sell stuff to you, we want to help you and we want to make sure that we can add value. So that pre-sales sort of element is very often a valid case for doing a little bit of freebie work, if you like. Another element that comes up, particularly in our business, is site visits. So freebies, it's a lot of free time, if you like, in that sense. So actually I'm flying interstate. I'm in Sydney, Australia. I've got to fly to Brisbane this week to go and visit a potential client. I've determined that I think they're a good quality lead and I'm going to fly up there and go and visit them and look around their facilities and talk about how we might be able to help them. Investing your time is sometimes a really good freebie. If you get a sense that they're not going to waste your time, that it's a really good client fit, then it's absolutely worth doing that. Another time that I'll very often consider giving free advice or free time more is if I'm going to learn something. So for example, it might be somebody's approached me for help with something, and again, maybe I want to engage with them a little bit more, learn more about what they're doing before we put in a proposal, or maybe I want to learn a little bit more about their operations and go and visit their site. I would particularly do that if it's an industry where I don't have a lot of experience, if it's a business that is of particular interest, maybe from what they're doing, if the problem is an interesting one, so regardless of whether we win the work or not, I might be prepared to put some time in because I want to kind of learn through that process. So that's another one. Number 5 is really important, and that's building the relationship. So we're not now talking about giving away freebies to initially engage with someone. We're talking about people that we've already engaged with. Maybe they've responded to an email, a video, a lead magnet, something like that. Maybe we've already had an online discussion. and we're going to follow up with maybe more online discussions or in-person discussions. So again, an example, I did that last week. We had 2 online discussions with a new client. Funnily enough, the new client is 10 minutes down the road from me, and they said, you know, it's a really interesting project, it would be a great client. And so I was on the call with one of my team, and we chatted afterwards, and I said, hey, you know, it would be good to get down there and see them face to face. Which was good because they wanted to get a couple of their overseas directors involved in a call as well. So we took the opportunity to go down, visit their factory, have a look around their warehouse, talk about their specific problem, came back to the boardroom. We got a couple of their directors online from overseas, and we talked through how we could help them. All of that is building the relationship sort of pre-sales. Gave us an opportunity to talk about case studies that we've done. We were able to talk with some authority, having seen their facilities, about some of the issues that we'd seen walking around and how we might be able to help. So that kind of stuff, building relationship, really important to throw some free time at that. Number 6, I'm going to flip the coin a bit and just say be wary of the takers. And the longer you are in the consulting business, the more you'll get a sense for these. And in fact, I've got a video about it. I think it's called something like 10 red flags that highlight a bad client or something like that. I'll put a link down below. Yeah, I think it's called 5 red flags to identify a bad client. So look for the link down below. You get a sense of that where they're almost milking you for information, how you're going to do things. You know, there ends up to be multiple meetings. I had one last year, which was an overseas company. We were going really well. I think I might have mentioned this on the channel before. And it looked like we were going to get the work. And then, there was a little bit of a change. And one of the owners wanted to get involved. And like the whole process started from square one again. And then it was, you know, you're going to come over and visit. And we'd already invested a lot of time in a whole range of meetings, and I just got the sense that we were kind of being used a bit. You know, they were just going to pick our brains, and they were going to multiple sources, so we were going to be one of 4 or 5 bidding for the work. You know, sometimes you just got to weigh it up and say, what's the probability of us winning this work? Is it worth putting any more time into it? And we pulled out at that point. Not that I told them the reason. You know, sometimes you've got to cut and run and say, this doesn't feel like a good fit for us. It doesn't seem like that we're going to win it. You know, they're just shopping around, trying to get new ideas and so on. So there we go. Freebies and valuing your consulting expertise. You know, when should you give away free time? When should you give away free information? There's a few things to think about there. We were talking about lead magnets, pre-sales work, site visits, the ability or the opportunity to learn new things, building the relationship, and just be a little bit wary of those who are takers. So it's a balance, isn't it? It's a balance between demonstrating knowledge, being supportive, but commercially savvy. Now, I've recently mentioned on the channel that I was thinking of undertaking a coaching program. So just before you go, let me know if you're interested in some coaching. A lot of people are approaching me all the time saying, Rob, love your videos, but you know, are you going to provide any sort of coaching programs or training programs? I might. If I can free up some time this year, I might, and I'll put a link down in the description below. So look in the description. I'll also put it in the first comment. There's a little survey there which will give you the opportunity to say what you're interested in terms of a coaching program. But for now, great to see you again. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe if you're not, and see you again soon.